Welcome to the Introspection and Banter podcast. I'm Antoine,
I'm Gabe.
and thanks for tuning in.
Anthony, you know what I really like?
Uh, how do you want me to answer that?
You could just say what? Like a normal
What?
person. Superheroes. And I think I'm not the only one,
I
considering just how popular the the whole what do we call it? Genre?
fan base?
Archetype?
Yeah,
Yeah, the whole like how big they are like nowadays between like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, all like the other series that have been coming out.
yeah,
And comic books.
yeah. And just so you guys know, we're not spoiling any Spider-Man movies or anything tonight.
Oh,
Don't worry about
yeah.
that. If that's what your
Yeah.
first thought was,
Did you see that
yeah.
movie though?
Yes, I saw it, and it was glorious.
Yes, very good. Very good film.
Yeah. Quite enjoyed it. So what do you like about superheroes? Because I do enjoy superheroes myself.
Mm. You know what it is? I think a lot of people love the whole idea of good triumphing over evil. Very
All
basic
right.
like formula.
Yeah, I think that's honestly like one of my issues with it. Like a little a little bit.
Yeah.
I do like it, but yeah, it's sometimes too basic.
You think so?
Maybe I'm not someone who sees the world. Yeah, I do think so. I guess I'm not
Well,
someone that sees the world as black and white.
I was gonna say like the basic formula of good triumphing over evil is like very like overplayed at this point, but it does work, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it does.
And there's a reason for it. I think like even like I would use the example. The Star Trek movies, the first one, I wouldn't necessarily say it's super bad, but it's like really boring, you know? And the villain's complicated and whatnot. But then Star Trek 2 comes out and it's just the basic like Khan's a piece of shit and he's attacking like the guys from the Enterprise. And that's the whole story. And it works. And I'm pretty sure 2 was like people liked it more than the first one because of that. Because it was just a very basic, simple story of here's a bad guy, here are the good guys, they're gonna fight each other. I think sometimes it works really well. You don't necessarily something like need like a very complicated like or washed gray problem between like two parties, you know?
Yeah, I think I do know what you're saying.
So like
I feel like sometimes that gray is maybe the realisticness I like, and it seems more like you are put in the middle of something, like picking between two sides, and because I mean we all have a lot of drama to deal with, and I don't know, it's hard to like sum up in the words I want to.
no, I get it. Like I'm not saying that the basic like good versus evil plotline should be followed like all the way through. I'm just saying that
Yes, I'll agree with that.
sometimes it's good to just have like a here's a pure evil versus like some purely good person, you know?
Yeah,
Like
what do you like about that though? Like just how
I guess I guess because
plain simple.
most things aren't don't go your way in real life. So I guess most people I think go always side with the with good, right? Like when they're reading a story they're going to side with the good guys.
Yes.
So when they see like good triumphing over evil, I guess they kind of relate to it in a way where like yeah, I'm conquering my own demons, you know?
Yeah.
I know that another aspect, at least for me, is like especially when it comes to like epics or like fantasy or any media
Epic.
involving like
Epic poems gotta be an episode in itself one day.
I'm making you read Gilgamesh. Don't think I haven't forgotten.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Especially when it comes to like epic like fictions involving like fantasy and things like that. Like you have good guys triumphing over evil. I like the whole like high adventure type thing as well. Just seeing like someone overcome odds to become like legends, like in their own universe. At least for me,
Yeah.
it's fun
And
to watch.
okay, so I like that, but I also like being invested in the plot line. Like seeing that the villain themselves. And it's funny because I wanted to save this till the end of the podcast, but we can bring it up now. I'm fine with that. Um,
Mm.
the villain themselves is someone that like truly believes in what they're doing, okay? And the hero kind of sees that in the and you the reader kind of you're thinking like, wow, okay, the villain might not be wrong, but like fuck, like there's probably another way of going about this.
Yeah, and you know it's funny. It's like you mentioned like villains like that. That's why I like IDW's version of Megatron so much because they give him a redemption arc, and we actually see like why he started like the whole Decepticon movement, and it was a political like it was a rebellion, but then over time kind of just twisted itself into like this really aggressive what's it called, the counter force against like the other faction that was on Cybertron,
Mhm.
to the point where like it kind of lost his way and Megatron even lost his way. But you see like why he did it. Like you look at like his origin story and you see Jim. Cybertron was fucked back in the day.
You know what's funny is I feel like some of those stories are the like those kind of villain origin stories are some of the best that you see in the series.
Yeah.
Like if they're written good, I will say that. Which I in my experience they usually are.
I, I that's the other thing. Is like it's hard to like write a good guy who's not boring, I think sometimes.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to have like a super good two shoes, and it's just like it gets like a
You
little
know
tiring after a while.
All right, so I know we're gonna mention Superman, and we're kind of there when you mentioned this goody goody two shoes guy. What about Was it Superwoman, Supergirl, who's pretty
Supergirl?
much clipboard Superman, like copy and paste Superman?
Mm, not
You
sure
know
what
who
you
I'm
mean.
talking about?
No, I don't think I do.
A female Superman. There was like a Netflix show about it, wasn't there?
There's Supergirl, but I wouldn't exactly call her like a copy and paste version of
Oh
Superman.
fuck! What? She was like a reporter and shit.
Yeah, wasn't a Netflix series. It was this really shitty TV series that eventually got bought and added to
Okay.
like the
I
CW.
don't know much about her like personally, but from what I saw of the TV series, I was like, okay, what is she just Superman? Like she's even a fucking reporter like Superman. And she's
Yeah,
paired with Martian Manhunter, who I would argue is a fucking phenomenal hero, but they kind of just washed
motherfucker.
him down.
I wish they would get his own series eventually, but I think Martian Manhunter is underrated, in my
I think
opinion.
so too. Yeah.
Fucking
I
cool
see
though.
I like him as a hero because what's I think's cool is like so he's got that weakness, fire, okay?
Yeah.
What I like about it is it's completely psychological.
Yeah, it's not even like well, I think it depends on who's writing him. I think
Yeah.
at some points he was like straight up physically like weak to fire. But I think in some versions of him, it's literally just psychological, which I love.
Okay, because I know like one version I read it was psychological because
Hmm.
like he watched his entire was it race? I don't know. That
I
but
want to say it
all
was race.
yeah, killed by fire. And like it made him like scared of fire.
Yeah. I love like that's the other thing about like cool superheroes sometimes like they do write them with like debilitating weaknesses.
Yeah, I love that too. Debilitating weaknesses, like not just like like I'm trying trying to clarify weaknesses.
Yeah. Like Superman's cool and all,
Yeah.
but like he has like I think two major weaknesses like A, kryptonite, alien rocks, and then B, he's too good of a person. That's like his second weakness. The problem with that is like I can't relate to any of those. I'm like, oh, he's such a good guy that people take advantage of him, and it's just like it's kind of boring compared to I saw my whole like race be burnt in front of me, and now anytime I see fire, I shut down completely, and I'm horrified because
Yeah.
I have like I have like a trauma from it.
Yeah.
Which to me is like, yeah, I like that. It's like it's nice to see some of those humane qualities like in people, especially in the case of like Martian Manhunter, where he's like not even human; he's like an alien.
Yeah, and he's more realistic.
Hmm.
Then I mean, Superman's not human either, but he at least fucking looks it.
Yeah.
Unlike Martian Manhunter. Now, you mentioning the fact that people like kind of look up to these heroes makes me think. I think people idolize Batman a lot more, like over Superman. It's because that they like some of his weaknesses and like his kind of the way he sees himself compared to Superman. Like
Yeah.
Batman isn't perfect.
Although there's this weird thing where people like him for some of the weaknesses that he has. Like people love the fact that Batman has a contingency plan for like everyone. Which is funny because when the writers wrote that, that wasn't why they wrote it. They wrote that as to be a negative thing. Like here's Batman. He has so many trust issues that even with like the Justice League, he has come up with a way to like take him down if necessary,
Yeah, I was
which
gonna
causes
say
problems.
I know he has kryptonite to kill Superman.
Yeah. That's the problem though with like Batman is that he's too paranoid. That was the whole thing was supposed to be about. But instead of people saying, "Look, wow, Batman has some serious trust issues," they're just like, "Wow, Batman's so cool. He's found a way how to kill all his friends."
That I think it's just how it's displayed.
Was the thing they were
That
attempting to
specifically, that's
display
just how
it.
it's displayed.
They were trying to display it as a bad thing, and people still interpret it as a good thing.
That's yeah, honestly, it is funny. Like
Like,
I don't know how
hmm
I don't know how they like can interpret it like that. I mean, I'm not sure. Is it the fan base? I'm not like I don't know.
it's the fan base. The funny thing is that I was watching an episode of Firefly the other night, and it was about how the one character, the like big stupid big one, he one time robbed the dude on this planet and had to dump everything he robbed, but it fell over like the local populace. So they see him as like a Robin Hood type hero who stole from like the rich dude and gave back to the poor.
I love
But
that.
yeah, but in reality, he just dumped it because it was either he dumped the money or his ship goes down. So he dumped the money, but people see him as a hero even after like they kind of find out that why he did the thing. They still treat him as a hero. But the funny thing is what the captain tells him. He's like, sometimes it's not about what is, it's about what they need. They needed a folk
Yeah,
hero, so they turned this dude into folk hero. You see that a lot. You see that a lot in a lot of the colonies. Uh, During like the golden age of piracy, some pirates became like big folk heroes to like the people because to them they just saw like as people like screwing over the authorities and being rebellious. When in reality they were just criminals, stealing and killing from ship just to get goods from ships.
bro.
In Puerto Rico, we have Roberto Cofresi, who's like seen as like a Robin Hood type figure, and he was a pirate. Uh, but in reality, he just really, whenever he gave to like the poor villagers or whatever, it was just like a bribe. They're like, hey, the guards are gonna be looking for me. I'm not here. Here's like this amount of gold. But people still interpret it as like, look at this dude like stealing from like Americans and Dutch ships and giving back to us. So it's,
I
you know?
yeah, I do like that. Like sometimes it's what they need, like the whole folk hero thing.
Yeah. You can't
Like
really
that's
fault
fucking
them for
awesome.
it. It's funny how sometimes it works out.
Yeah, I completely forgot what I was gonna talk about.
You can't really choose like how the public's gonna interpret someone.
Yes. Yeah.
And when that happens, you just gotta make the best of it. In terms of like that's like similarly Punisher was not meant to be like a hero. Like well, I guess he's an anti-hero. But he was an antagonist when he was first introduced.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was trying to kill Spider-Man. He was
He was
always
introduced
intent
in a Spider-Man comic?
Yeah, he was introduced as trying to kill Spider-Man. I think he was like a bounty hunter, I guess, or whatever,
Yeah.
or vigilante, and some bad guy convinced him that Spider-Man was the bad guy. So he was introduced trying to kill Spider-Man. But then Spider-Man explained is like, dude, that dude's clearly evil. Look at him. And Punisher was like, oh yeah, you know what, you might be right. And then I think they teamed up to take down that one dude. And that was it. That was the original inception of like Punisher. He was not intended to be like recurring like hero. But people liked them and I guess they kind of saw him as like some sort of anti-hero.
I mean, he's pretty idolized like nowadays.
Yeah. I hear he's pretty idolized in like the US Army too. I
I
think
mean, he
actually
is like a lot of like gun owners, like people who were like all for like you fuck with my rights, you fuck with me, that sort of thing. Like they kind of take up the Punisher logo.
I'm not mistaken. I think like even in American Sniper, you can actually see like the soldiers wearing like Punisher stuff. And I think one of them at one point was like reading a Punisher comic on base.
Well, I think part of it is they kind of like his like kind of John Wick style
Mm,
because like
John Wick.
I mean that is like a fucking people think like the Punisher and they're like oh that guy kills like everybody. Like yeah, they kill his family and shit and like he'll fuck with everybody now.
Yeah. I was gonna say you mentioned John Wick. Would you consider that like I wouldn't he's not a superhero, but would you
No,
consider him a hero?
well, a hero. Oh shit. I don't know if he's a hero. He might be an anti-hero. Because like I don't know. My thought is like he works completely for himself. Like a hero kind of like works for like the public in my sense. Like
Mm,
your overall hero, and then a superhero I would say is someone who possesses some kind of abilities
power.
that are beyond the normal. Yeah, power.
It's interesting like how we define that power though, because you talk about powers, you look at like Superman, it's obvious like that's a superhero.
Yeah.
But would you consider Batman a superhero even though he technically doesn't have powers?
Yeah, I'd say that's a superhero.
Yeah, right. So where do you draw the
Yeah.
line at superhero and just like normal like hero?
I'd say part of it has to do with the fact that part of it's the fact that Batman like dresses up and shit. Like John Wick treats himself as like a vigilante and like
I don't even think he
mercenary
does
type.
that. I think he's just a mercenary.
Yeah. Um Punisher he dresses up and shit too. Like the fact that you dress up just makes me think, oh, superhero or something of the kind.
Because we were talking about that, and I'm thinking in my head, you said power, but I mean, like in a lot of fantasy epics, you have mages or magicians,
Yeah.
sorcerers. They have magic, they have magical powers, but you wouldn't exactly say like they're superheroes. You just say they're the heroes of like the epic or whatever. You know?
Ugh. Yeah, no, I do get what you mean.
That's an interesting, well, like something I think it's interesting to like define is like what, how do you call like a superhero? I think part of it depends on the genre too, like,
Yes.
and the medium. Like if you're writing like a story, right, and your setting is
Yeah.
like far away, like Fantasyland or whatever, and you have people with powers, I don't think that automatically makes them superheroes, right? Compared to like here's like the normal urban population setting, but then like one kid in a world like where magic isn't established or whatever, or isn't big, he suddenly gets powers and whatnot, and that's considered superhero stuff.
I mean, yeah, I mean that I don't want to say how that's how it works, but it depends how they set it up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of it.
Who's like your favorite, by the way? Like
Yo,
hero.
I I'd been wanting to mention that too. So that's a tough one. Uh Moon Knight, I think's
Moon
underrated, in
Knight.
my opinion.
He's getting serious.
I
So
he's getting a series and I hope it's cool.
yeah,
Because I've been like I read some of his comics, I'm like, yeah, some of these are fucking like they're not bad.
you have an
Um
anthology, don't you, or like a collection of Moon Knight?
yeah, I do. Because I let you borrow it at one point.
Yeah.
I like what's what's the one Robin? Is it Nightwing? The one
Is that the
comes
one
at the
that
end?
like? Yeah, there's one Robin that becomes Nightwing.
Yeah, so he's also one of my favorite heroes.
Mm.
Not sure who else, but just off those two, I kind of enjoy them. Did you may discuss them, or like, did you want to talk about yours?
I'm just curious to know like what yours were. I don't think I have
Yeah.
a favorite though.
Yeah, that's the thing as well. Like, so my mom asked me that a while ago. She's like, "Yeah, what superheroes do you really like?" And she wanted me to name some mainstream shit. And I was like, "Yeah, ain't gonna lie, there are like no mainstream heroes that I like." And I told her I was like, "Yeah, I kind of like Nightwing. Moon Knight's pretty cool. This hero." And she's like, "You can't like the Hulk or somebody." I was like, "No." And she's like, "Why?" And I was like, "Because they're shit."
That's funny.
It's like, what do you mean? It was like, the awful backstory, awful fucking power. The Hulk, he's infinitely strong. Like, that's so dumb. And Bruce Banner can't die because the Hulk can't die, but he secretly wants to die. This man is completely fucked psychologically, in my opinion.
I'm trying to figure out like when was the last time I read a superhero comic because I think the comics I read usually aren't like superhero based.
I mean, the ones aren't. Okay. So I wouldn't. I don't think I would necessarily call Logan like Wolverine a superhero. I don't know. It's kind of anti-hero-ish. I don't know. I like Logan though. Like
Mm.
I don't know about Wolverine, but I like the actual person and Darwin from X-Men.
Darwin. We had a conversation about him the other day about how ridiculous it was that he they
Yeah,
killed him off in the movie.
they did.
They killed off the one unkillable character because he was black.
In case any viewers are listening and aren't aware, if you watch, I think it's X-Men First Class. There's a
I think it
character
is
named
first
Darwin,
class, yeah.
and he's
Darwin.
portrayed by a black actor. And Darwin himself, I think he's portrayed as like black, Hispanic, and he dies in X-Men First Class. But he is known in the X-Men Marvel universe as being unkillable. Like
Bro.
literally was touched by death himself and did not die.
So like his power is that as the name implies, he adapts and he gets random like mutations depend for the situation. So like Anthony said, one time death itself touched him and his body mutated to become death. So the man cannot die essentially.
Going up against the Hulk, the adaptation decided it was best that he not fight Hulk, so it teleported him away. The power
Yeah.
completely adapts, and they kill him.
Yeah, the weakness is that he can't control what the adaptation is. It was like he's an interesting character, but then the movie has him and it just like, nah, he dead.
Yeah, he died in the movie. He's introduced in the movie, dies in the movie. It's honestly shit. So we'll start a campaign at some point, rewriting Darwin back. And actually, I don't really like the X-Men movies in general. So at some point, we'll do a GoFundMe to raise our own Darwin movie.
Obviously.
Obviously, treat him like he needs to be treated.
I'm
I
like
do the
still
same for Moon Knight, but he's getting his own series.
I'm still stumped like on like what superheroes I like. And I don't want to give like the basic bitch answer like, oh yeah, I like Spooderman.
You don't like Spooderman?
I like Spooderman, but I don't want to be like that basic bitch to be like, yeah, Spider-Man. Trying to see what
Um,
superheroes have I mean, I like Watchmen. That's one of my favorite comic books in general. But would I say like if any would I say any of the characters are my favorite? Probably not.
that's
Watchmen's
reasonable,
great, yeah.
bro. I don't know about you, but is it hard to like heroes, like superheroes?
I think it can get that way. I know like some people I've talked to like don't like superheroes anymore just because everything's so saturated with them nowadays.
It's I there's I have like it's so hard for me to actually like I told you I like Moon Knight and Nightwing, but I'm just like yeah I don't know shit about Nightwing. I just know he's I don't know I think it's cool because I like Robin and like I know that like the people that were Robin they had to deal with a lot of shit. The one Robin died, all of it like there's a whole lot of drama mixed in there, right? And Moon Knight I think's underrated, kind of
Yeah.
powerful, kind of cool, has some psychological shit where there's like a bunch of personalities in him, but like it's so hard for me to find a superhero. I actually am like, wow, this dude is so fucking cool.
Yeah. Did you ever read the Conan Serpent War that included Moon Knight?
I have not.
Okay, so they did Conan is the one like Marvel, like I guess IP would be the proper term, even though they didn't technically create him.
Barbarian?
That yeah, Conan the Barbarian that has essentially crossed over from like a bunch of Marvel characters for like no fucking reason. And a couple, I think it was like maybe in 2020, they did like a arc called the Serpent War where Conan teamed up with Solomon Kane, Dark Agnes, and Moon Knight to like fight like some snake god. And what's it called? It's great because Moon Knight and Solomon Kane stay together for like the most. They have the most
Yeah.
interaction. The thing with Solomon Kane is like this extreme like Christian Puritan who goes around killing and exercising this shit, and then Moon Knight has like essentially like a pagan god talking to him. So it's interesting to see the two like work together.
It's funny we're talking about this because anti-heroes and villains. Are there ones that you like of them? Like that you can name solemnly?
Megatron's like my favorite
I
comic character of the last
is
decade.
that not so much easier to do?
It's easy. You know what it is? It's easier to name who's your favorite villain than it is to like name your favorite like hero. And I think part of it's because villains have more characterization sometimes. Because you do have to put the time and effort to like explain like why is this guy bad, you know? Because it's
Yes.
easy to write like a good guy because everyone wants to be good, like on the inside, more or less. But
Yeah.
why does this person do bad? And that's when you have
So
to
you're
like come up
saying
with motivation and things like
they
that.
have to justify it,
Yes,
and
because
it's
it's like,
not, and like they don't really have to justify the heroes.
yeah, you have to do less justification for why your heroes want to do good than you have to do for like why a villain wants to do bad. Not that
Yeah.
you, like, it's not to say that you don't need to have any justification for a hero. You do. You need to give them some sort of motivation. But it's easier, I think, for to do it for a hero than it is a villain. So since you put more time into the villain, they come out to be better. At least in my opinion.
It's funny we're talking about this justification. So it made me think of so when I was writing a superhero kind of themed novel, the justification that the main character had started with this. He was pissed off about this girl, like he didn't have closure in their relationship. And that started off as like why he wanted to become a superhero, because he needed more community and idolization.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like I'll use the example that you took Megatron from like the IDW comics. Fucking wanted like a political revolution. And then we get to see like his slow descent like from like that like good motivation into becoming like a tyrant. And then go back to like how he was before in his like redemption arc.
I
Which is
love to see that sort of thing.
it's 10 times better than like I'm a good guy. There's some shit going on my planet. I gotta go defend it, and all of a sudden, oh look, now I'm like the new Prime. You know,
Yeah,
it's
and
not
what
that
about
Optimus
like,
Prime
oh,
sucks,
my
but it's just like
wife
I.
died. Oh, my fucking
Oh my
daughter
god.
died, or like she's like like trapped or some shit, and they become evil. Is
Oh
that
yeah.
not the most cliche bullshit you've ever seen? Makes me want to
Uh,
pop the movie out of my fucking PlayStation or whatever and throw it against the wall.
cliched like character motivations are like terrible.
Yeah. Ooh. So, you got any superheroes you wrote about? Since I
I'm
told you
trying.
about one of mine.
I when I was a kid, I used to write like superhero stuff. You know,
Yeah.
I don't think I wrote anything down, but I used to draw them all the damn time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I it's embarrassing to talk about because they're really fucking bad. I had the idea of two superheroes with like candy cane claws
Oh my gosh.
called like Mr. Claus and Mrs. Claus.
This is cringy.
Listen, I was a little kid.
Wait. All right. So when I was working on like superhero related fiction, first of all, I didn't even think of them as superheroes. I thought of them as people with powers. All right. And I based it in a society with people with powers. Like it was a normal fucking thing in society that sometimes, every once in a while, people were born with powers, and it was so common enough that like they were starting to archive it in like the government and shit. And um, I wrote one character. The main character I had, I was like, I want to give him basic abilities because I want him to like overcome people with other shit other than his powers. Like he's gonna be witty, he's gonna be strong, right? That sort of thing. So I gave him like uh he had this ability to jump very high, very far, okay? Like could jump over shit and he had very strong like leg strength. And I assume maybe he had like less like density or some shit. Because he like when he fall, like didn't really hurt him. And he could jump, high.
Jump.
And it's like I want him to be very, very normal, like of a person. And so his inspiration for like wanting to become a superhero, like he didn't want to become a superhero. He just wanted to help people, and a mixture of boredom.
Mm.
And he wanted to find this girl, all right, because they didn't have closure in their relationship, and it really pissed him off. And in between then and there, he ends up like helping like a bunch of people, right, and uh wants to form another relationship. And over time, I wanted him to become more jaded as a hero, which I think is pretty normal. Actually, what do you think about that? Like, actually, I don't think you see that in superheroes. I think you see that more in like people from becoming heroes and then going to villains, like
I,
becoming jaded.
I'll say this: Rorschach is like that. That's like
Rorschach.
his whole backstory is literally Rorschach was like the typical hero, and then one day he saw like a pedophile like kill a little girl and feed into his dog. So he literally just took a hat. Like I think what he did was he killed the dogs, then chained the dude into like a burning building and let him burn. I think in the movie they changed it to he just cut him up or whatever, but in the
Funny.
comics
All
he
right.
set him on fire essentially.
Who's the guy that wrote Watchmen? Alan?
Alan Moore.
Alan Moore. So he, what I think is funny enough is he said Rorschach is my realistic interpretation of Batman. He's
Yeah,
like, and it's not a good thing. And he said, what I hate is when people come to me and they're like, this is my life story. I'm Rorschach. Like this. He's
I'm
like,
like
bro,
holy
how is that?
fuck.
He said that is the realistic like version of someone saying you did not understand the meaning of this character. Please, like, you should not be this person.
You know what's worse?
What?
When people are like, "Oh, I have a relationship like Harley Quinn and Joker," I'm like, "Holy shit! Get some help, please!"
You're getting
Like,
fucking abused,
you're
like,
getting abused. Like only
and
one of you is actually
neglected.
in love, and the other one's just using you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Which is why I hate like the new like the version we got like in the movies.
yeah.
You know,
I did like the Joker movie though. I thought it was very good.
the Joker. Oh yeah, yeah. I haven't watched it yet.
Which, you haven't seen that?
No,
Yeah.
I have
Wow.
not seen it. Joaquin Phoenix.
Is that how it's
Uh,
pronounced?
I don't know.
Yeah. Whatever.
Rorschach, though, you're saying you barely see it. Like the only person that comes off the top of my head would be Rorschach. But yeah, no, Rorschach's supposed to be like that like pragmatic, objective hero. But that's like the whole point of like the story is like he has like this objective of what was it? He says never compromise, even in the face of Armageddon. Like to never compromise with evil, which is why he like lets
He
Doctor
lets himself die by the
yeah,
one dude.
because he does like agree that like if he goes out and tells people like the truth about what happened, it would ruin the ceasefire and peace that they've just made to prevent the world from being
I
blown up
really
between
love like
Russia.
his like morale. Like if you know what I
It's
mean.
like yeah, he sets it as there has to be a black and white morality. And as a result, he's like this really like essentially like too harsh in my opinion. Like he doesn't
Yeah,
go Like
Yeah,
him
he's
breaking
a little
people's
dangerous for
fingers
sure.
and whatnot. Yeah, no, he's
Well, I
definitely
can't
like.
blame him because I think they write him with a really good backstory.
Mhm. You know, it's interesting. They did a lot of changes in like the movie,
Yeah.
but like one of the ones I thought was weird and I thought was better in the comic was when Rorschach is in Night Owl, the Owl's house.
Okay.
In the comic, the guy when he enters his house, he is nervous and scared that Rorschach is there. Whereas in the movie, he kind of just treats him like an old friend. In the comic, they make it very clear that he is nervous that Rorschach is around, which I think adds a lot to like how to the fact that Rorschach really isn't seen as like some good hero. He's seen as like this dangerous vigilante that people are terrified of.
I do know what you mean. Like, does he even go to the superhero meetings in that? Like, I'm pretty sure he doesn't.
In the comic at first, and I think like when they do like the flashbacks, they do show like Rorschach as part of the team.
Yeah.
And I think that was
He's one
like
of the few
early
that
on.
doesn't stop being a superhero, right?
He is one of the few. The only other the comedian became a mercenary essentially. Dr. Manhattan also started working for the government alongside the comedian. Ozymandias straight up just became like I guess like a rich dude. I guess
Yeah.
would be the best
He
way to
did.
like describe it. And
I'm a fucking billionaire. Into
yeah,
evil.
Manhattan's girlfriend, I forget her name, Juniper, Jupiter.
Yeah. Yeah.
She stopped being a superhero too. It's literally just Rorschach, and it essentially just fucking like
I
destroyed him.
think that has to go with his well developed backstory and morality.
Yeah, I think he himself like just has like is traumatized as well by the shit he's seen. He sees
Yeah.
the world as like shitty, like garbage. I think is the issue, which is another theme with Watchmen is like the world sucks, but there's moments of like respite in between. You know,
Yeah. I do know what you mean. Have you seen Kick
Watchmen's a
Ass?
good. I have seen Kick-Ass 1. I have not
Watchmen
seen
is a
2 yet.
good. What were you gonna say about Watchmen?
I was gonna say go read Watchmen.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
get
I
it.
will give it the credit it deserves. Do read it. Watch the movie if you have it. If you don't have it, then read the fucking comic. Duh. Come
Hmm.
on. Don't be a bitch.
I prefer the comics just between me. There's a lot more stuff in the comic that I think they just couldn't add to the movie because it would just make it too long.
Yeah. So funny enough, the director wanted to make it a miniseries,
Yeah, I know. I think the first director said there's like you cannot make this into a movie. You got to do it into a miniseries.
and then I'm pretty sure they hired a second director because
Yeah,
like the first one was like, I can't. I'm not gonna be able to do this for you.
and then they did make it
Um.
into a series.
So Kick Ass. Have you seen that one?
Kick ass. I have seen the movie. It's been a while though, but I have
Me
seen the
too.
movie.
I like it for it's kind of realistic adaptation of heroes and
Mhm.
kind of for its dumbness too
I
in
think yeah.
terms of like superheroes.
The interesting thing about Kick Ass is I'm pretty sure they made the movie as they were making the comic.
Really? You might be right. I'm not sure.
I think like the writer gave the movie makers like the outline that he had,
Yeah,
but while they were making the movie, he was still making the comic. I think
but I know, so you might be right. I do know the comics a lot darker than the movie.
it is a lot darker, and the main character is more of a dick in in it too. I think he's like a
Really?
lot more. He's a lot more likable in the movie compared to like in the comic. I think he's a piece of shit. I know he pretends to be gay just to get closer to like this girl, the girl that he likes. And I'm pretty sure his
Uh,
father fucks her at one point. I don't remember.
is that
I
in the
could be wrong.
comic? Holy
I think
shit!
I think that's in the
What?
comic. I could be wrong. I know
Yo!
at one point when she finds out he's not gay, she like purposely like films herself giving someone a blowjob and sends the video to him. I think at one. I don't remember. It's been a while. It's been a long time.
See, this is why I don't like your normal superhero shit because this has me actually invested. I'm like, oh, Superman saved the fucking day.
Who gives a shit? Let me see that guy get NTR'd. I want to see Kick-Ass get NTR'd.
At least that you're like, wow, I actually feel for the main character. I'm like, wow, man. I,
Oh, yeah, no, Kick-Ass is a lot darker in the comic.
well, I just remember like some point. I'm pretty sure the dude gets tortured. And I don't remember that in the actual film.
Yeah, like I said, I'm pretty sure like a lot of the stuff didn't make it into the film because I don't think it was set in stone yet. I
That's normal.
guess.
I know we were talking about psychology of like some of the villains a little bit. Like, what do you think of some of the heroes, like psychologically speaking?
Oh, I think some of them are fucked. And like, well, we were talking about Rorschach psychology. He's clearly fucked in the head, without a doubt.
Oh yeah. What about like Superman and Batman? Do you have any thoughts there? So we both know Rorschach's fucked. Like
I think,
anyone that reads the Watchmen comics, you know, like this man's like been through some shit.
yeah, he's been through such. He stared into the abyss, and the abyss like stared straight back at him, and he went insane.
That's exactly it.
Oh, what was I gonna say? I so Superman. I think Superman's a good guy. Like, you know what's funny is like we've seen a few stories where he snaps, like from like the whole like I'm a really good Boy Scout type thing. Like in
Yeah,
the Injustice, I think series shows us that really well. Like what happens when Superman loses it, and then there's also that one alternate universe, like in the DC animated cartoon, where they show what happens when the Flash dies. That he's like their moral compass, and the whole Justice League just becomes like a bunch of tyrants.
holy shit!
But I think
I did not
Superman.
know that.
Yeah, have you watched the original DC cartoons? Like
When I was a
Batman,
kid, like
Justice League.
watched some of them, but like
You don't remember that
not very
episode then?
well.
There was
I
like an alternate universe, like in the cartoon, where like the Flash was dead, so
no,
the Justice
I
League
don't
became
remember
like
that
a bunch
name.
of tyrants. Like Superman straight up just killed Lex Luthor and like took over.
Holy shit! No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, we gotta do like a watch party, you and me, just like watch like old cartoons again. After I make you read the Epic of Gilgamesh, of course. Uh, but yeah, you know, it's funny. I don't really know if Superman has any like, 'cause I don't read a lot of Superman comics. If he has like any psychological underlying issues, I do know like that there are stories where they show like what happens when he gets pushed too far.
Yeah,
I think there's also that one episode from like this show where he talks about like the world is a world of cardboard or whatever.
because he's like
Where
that powerful.
yeah, where he has to like be very careful like every day of his fucking life because of how like fragile the world is around him. As far as like Batman, Batman's also like fucked in the head. He dresses around in a bat outfit, beating people up.
I love the one comic where Batman. There's a panel where they're all grabbing Wonder Woman's lasso, and Superman reveals his identity. He's like, "I'm Clark Kent." Wonder Woman reveals her identity. I don't remember her identity. I just know her as Wonder Woman. Yeah.
Diana.
And Batman just says, "I'm Batman." They all reveal their secret identity, and Batman just says he's Batman. And
Yeah.
it kind of revealed like that he actually thinks he's Batman, and his secret identity to him is Clark Kent or fucking Bruce
Bruce
Wayne.
Wayne.
My dumbass. Yeah, Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, you know it's funny though, but despite you know, for me, I think Batman is just like I think he still is just hurt from losing his parents at such a young age, and I think that's what pushes him to do all everything that he does. 'Cause I think there was like this one episode from like the Justice League. I don't know if it was Justice League Unlimited or the original Justice League cartoon, where he actually like sits down and talks to like this young girl who's like hurting, and
Yeah,
actually has like like a sweet heart to heart moment. And I think that just shows you like, despite how like his brooding nature and whatnot, Batman also still cares. And I think part of him is like just he's just hurt from the fact that he lost his parents at a young age.
he just never. Like, do they never get this dude therapy? Like really
I
good
guess
therapy?
not. No, instead they made him take like ninja classes or whatever.
Ninja classes. Like what the fuck, Alfred? Like, bro. Oh my god. Yeah, nah. Should we get him the psychiatrist? No. Martial arts. Get the best martial arts. Bro, what the That's no, that's interesting to say the least.
Yeah. Who else has like a very like I would say psychological profile?
Uh shit. I wonder if there's
Hmm.
any good ones we can think of.
Megatron comes to. I keep bringing up Megatron. Here's
You keep
another
bringing up
recommendation.
Megatron. I don't know shit about Megatron.
I'm gonna say go read IDW Transformers comics. They did a reboot. Go read the first like canon before you read like the new canon. Megatron in that one, especially focus on the comic more than meets the eye. Megatron in the IDW like universe is great. His character like his redemption arc shows like how at first he tries to deny the fact that he's like a bad guy, but then comes to term with it. There's like this really like uh fucked up issue where they go to a planet where this they find who they call the Necrobot. He goes around and he like catalogs the dead. Like he like teleports to different parts whenever like a Cybertronian dies. He goes to their corpse and marks them as dead. And he's become like a legend in like a legend in like the Cybertronian, I guess, mythology. And the other thing what he does is that when he puts people's like grave markers on his like little home planet, he also like puts flowers for every like few people that they kill. Like they're responsible for killing. And every flower represents like a bunch of like a dozen, I think, deaths by their what's that shit called? By their hand or because of them. And up at this point, Megatron has been denying like everything, like he's not at fault for anything. But then he goes out to see like his marker, which hasn't been turned on yet because he's not dead yet. And he just sees like a sea of blue flowers that he's responsible for like thousands of like deaths, and it's like that's when it hits him. Like he's a fucking monster.
Holy shit.
Go read it.
Part of me
Read
was
it.
also thinking of my own fictional story that I was writing. I just remember the main hero didn't want to become a superhero. He just wanted to help people because they fucking needed it, and then they started to idolize him.
That's great. Reluctant heroes are also like fun to like see.
That's what I was going for. Like people were like, "Yo, we need you," and he's like, I fuck you. I didn't want to."
What was that one? Was it Hercules or Conan? Where like I think the thief doesn't like water, so they all jump in and like, okay, stay here in the cave, and they all leave him behind. He's just standing at the water's edge for like a minute, and he just goes, "They need me," and he just jumps into the water. Fucking-
I don't know what that is.
I think it's her. I don't know if it's Hercules or Conan, but it's like one of those like like buff men,
Yeah.
manly man shows or movie. But that to me was like like the perfect period, like where people who don't want to become heroes but do so out of like either responsibility or just circumstance. Han
Yeah.
Solo, I think, is another one, like the reluctant hero who like wasn't really in to like become a hero or anything, just sort of just ended up that way. Because
I'd agree with that one.
I think that's how they portrayed Bumblebee in like the new Rooster Teeth produced Transformers cartoon.
Oh.
Not very well, if you ask me. He kind of just like jumps straight into becoming an Autobot after like the first few episodes.
Damn.
Mm,
What a shame.
reluctant here. What a shame. Talked about heroes. We talked about anti-heroes. We talked about reluctant heroes, kind of. Is there like another type of hero we haven't really discussed?
I Nah, I don't think so. Pretty sure we like discussed like most of them.
All in
Like
heroes.
the base. I'm trying to think like out of the basic hero, a realistic hero or something. But like I don't know.
Fallen heroes, though.
Wait, what do you mean by
Heroes,
fallen heroes?
heroes that
Like
become
a
redeemed.
martyr?
No, I was telling about
Like what
Superman.
you were saying with Megatron, right?
Yeah, well, no, Megatron's
I
more
th-
like guy. Well, yeah, I
what?
guess he's like would be fallen hero
Like what?
turned into like the bad guy, then redeemed back into a hero. But I was thinking like fallen
So
heroes,
are you saying with fallen heroes like a hero turned villain?
kind of, yeah, that like they're heroic, but then they stop being heroic slowly by whatever for whatever reason.
I
So
think that make
like
that's that. Yeah, I love that kind of shit.
I like it too, especially when they go back to being redeemed. It's the best. So like Superman from the alternate universe
Yeah,
I was talking about. who like I think it was because he lost, literally just because he lost Flash. So he straight up was like, and then Lex Luthor became president. So he's like, no, went to the White House and killed him, and then took over. What else? Who else became? I guess would Rorschach fall into that category? He went from like superhero to like
Was
hardened vigilante, essentially.
I don't know.
Ozymandias, I think,
I
definitely
felt like
falls into that
Rorschach
category.
was the same person throughout it. Like I honestly
Well,
don't think
yeah,
so.
you know why? Because we don't really see much of him before, like the whole
Yeah.
before he got traumatized. Ozymandias, I think, might qualify as that. Feels
Yeah.
like
I would say Osmondeus is on
Asmodeus,
that.
Ozymandias, Ozymandias. How do
Funny
you
enough,
pronounce
this is the second time we've mentioned Osmondeus on this on this
podcast?
podcast.
Yeah, we talked about his namesake, which was the poem, and now we're talking about the superhero. You know, it's funny. We keep calling the people in Watchmen superhero, but none of them. I don't think. I think only Doctor
No,
Manhattan actually has powers. Everyone else is just like a dude.
they are all just dudes. I'm pretty sure. Pretty yeah, and I'm sure I remember.
I'm
But
pretty
like
sure.
that's a tough one. I know some of them like are very smart, like they're scientists and that sort of shit, which are basically what our most superheroes are anyway. Like if you look at the amount of doctors and shit in superheroes, there's a fuck ton of
Yeah, because how else are you gonna get superpowers with science?
them. Science. Um,
Science, of course.
I'm pretty sure Doctor Manhattan was supposed to be his interpretation of Superman, but I might be wrong.
I think the whole point of like Doctor Manhattan was like a god amongst men or something like that.
Which is kind of what
Well,
Superman is.
here's the funny thing about Watchmen. Watchmen was, I think, originally planned when DC bought like a bunch of superheroes from a company, and and yeah, if I list some of the names, you can tell which superheroes were supposed to be which. The Question, Blue Beetle, Atom, to name a few, and you can tell like which ones eventually like got turned into who. Uh, so like what's it called? The Question obviously became Rorschach. The thing was, I think DC after they bought him, they told Alan Moore that he couldn't use them because they wanted to use them for other stuff.
Yeah.
So he just created his own. But I think Doctor Manhattan was supposed to be the Atom. Was supposed to be the Atom, and then kind of got changed into like Doctor Manhattan. But yeah, the whole point is like here's like this guy who's like beyond humanity. The question is like, why would he care about humanity at that point? You know,
Yeah,
if he's
and that is kind of how he looks. Like that's how they display him. Like the dude does not care about humans in general, other than his wife, but only kind of
hmm
because he's so what's the word? Like he's not in the moment.
yeah. Well, here's the thing: like he can see the future,
He can't see the future. Like they made him godlike. And the
literally.
man sees all times at once. The dude's living the past, future, and present.
Yeah, it's he's a god amongst men.
What's going on? And he's like you don't like. It's very hard for me to concentrate.
I Doctor Manhattan is like one of those interesting things. Then I think what was it recently DC used him for the rebirth or whatever.
Not sure. I
I
saw
mean,
this thing that like they wanted Alan Moore. I don't even know when. Maybe like in sometime in the 2000s they asked him to like make another comic or something because there was like some deal. I don't know if everyone knows this. Like Alan Moore is supposed to get the rights or some shit to the comic at some point, but it was
so
only when. Uh,
you want me to explain it because I know exactly what
but
you're talking
if you
about.
know it better, then go ahead.
It's literally so the deal was once the comic goes out of print, the rights to the characters will go to Alan Moore. Here's the problem. Watchmen is one of the most popular comics made by DC. It has never gone out of print since it's like first like publishing. So Alan Moore could never get the rights. So at one point, DC offered saying, "We'll give you the rights to like the Watchmen character if you write a prequel comic involving like the Minutemen," and he refused. He didn't want to. So that was that thing.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, it's weird when it comes to like publishing. It's hard for like certain authors in general.
Back.
Hmm.
All right, so we ended with you discussing
The publishing,
Watchmen. Yes,
yeah,
publishing. So I'll I'll bring in a closer. We'll try to end it a little after
let's
that.
do a closing. I have an idea. I'll say like, oh, superheroes are pretty
Oh,
cool.
I was gonna have something like just
Okay,
like one last discussion.
okay.
I was gonna say
So,
like how can we make it like how can we give people advice to make good heroes?
okay, so okay, since I was silent for a good chunk of that, I was gonna say like editing wise, I'll cut it back in, I'll cut out everything and then start it back at this point. So if you want to start talking, do it now.
In terms of publication, like I think the hardest part, like, is trying to find a hero that the audience is gonna like,
Yeah, it's
like a
hard to gauge.
superhero wise.
It's hard to gauge like what's gonna be popular. Like if you look at a lot of the famous like modern heroes, they were not like made as like their separate comic. You know, Batman was a character introduced in one comic and decided they made him as like his own special comic. Same with like Spider-Man, he appeared in Amazing Fantasy, and then bam.
You already mentioned Punisher. I mean, Punisher's just a. I mean, he's an anti-hero slash villain, but you said he was brought up in a Spider-Man comic, but
Yeah,
people liked him.
Constantine, if I'm not mistaken, was like like just mentioned or like in as a side character in like I think the Swamp Thing comic, and he got his own series.
I think you're right about that one. I was reading about Constantine recently because I watched one of his movies.
Or shall we say Constantine, because that's actually technically the
I
proper
don't know. I'm just
pronunciation.
wondering like how to make a good hero. Not a good hero, but like how people can make a hero that is worth it.
Mm, relatability, I think, is the major thing.
Oh yeah, I'll agree with that 100%.
I think like because like was I was watching a video recently. I think it was with Stan Lee talking to Stephen King, not Stephen King, Larry King, the like radio show host or whatever.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And he told him like the best thing Marvel ever did was like designing Spider-Man's costume because if you notice, like not a single piece of skin
Because
is
you can't
shown.
tell his race.
Yeah, he's like you could be anyone underneath that costume, black, white, red, yellow,
He said that it
brown.
was an accident, but
Yeah.
he said it was one of the best accidents that he did because anyone can be Spider-Man, anyone can relate with it.
Yeah, and everyone like how many freaking nerds, like nerdy people get bullied at school that they can like be like, yeah, you know what? I can be Spider-Man. Just
And
gotta
I
find a
like that.
spider.
So I mean, Spider-Man, like you think Peter Parker, like right away, like but the second Spider-Man people might think of is Morales, who's black.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, people keep saying he's black. He's actually like black and Hispanic, but I think people
I
keep
figured
forgetting. People keep
the
forgetting
last
that
name
he's
kind of thought of
yeah,
it for me,
keep
but
forgetting that
either
he's
way,
half
like
Puerto
there's
Rican. Wait,
my
was he
kind of
Puerto
thought
Rican?
process is like the amount of Spider-Man there are, and like the fact that Spider-Man can be anybody. I mean, yeah, you could say the same about Green Lantern,
Yeah,
but I don't give a
Green
shit about
Lantern.
Green Lantern. Ain't gonna lie, people like Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's so cool, that's why. But yeah, like
Spider-Man's relatable with the whole like like you said like bullying in school and shit. Like people don't deal with that. Like I don't know Green Lantern's backstory, and you know what? There's probably a good reason I don't know about it. It's probably not that good.
I was gonna say everyone I think at one point in their life has lost someone. Well, everyone has lost an Uncle Ben at some point in their life, or they're going to, which is why I think
And
people
Uncle
relate
Ben
to Spider-Man.
and Aunt May. A
Uh,
wait, what the fuck?
Spider Gwen.
Girlfriend
I think Spider Gwen lost Peter
accidentally
Parker.
snap her neck. No, no
Oh
spoilers.
no!
It
I
is from a
accidentally
comic.
killed my girlfriend.
But it's no
Yeah.
spoilers for a comic that's probably over 20 years old.
Yeah, no, that's how it is. It's like you make a character who's relatable, who's gonna
I,
stand the test of time.
I
I,
yeah, and I think like part of it is Spider-Man is definitely like one you can connect to. Like
I,
all the Spider-Man movies, you're like I don't know about the like who's the Andrew Garfield. I don't know about those ones, but the Tobey Maguire ones and
Holland.
whatever the third actor, yeah, Holland. I watched those and I'm like, I ain't gonna lie, some of these are kind of sad. Like
Hmm.
I get a little emotional.
I was gonna say it's great to have a character like that. The other thing too is like I think people like the escapism that superheroes bring. So
Yeah,
if you're gonna make a superhero, make it so like it's great. I think that's why Superman was so popular. Here you have like an alien who's come to like a whole new like brand new culture, but instead of being like weak, because like, when you think about it, like Superman, what's like a narrative you can bring to that? It's like the immigrant narrative, the guy who like gets sent, like who's essentially he's a refugee from his own planet, lands on Earth, and instead of like being ostracized and marginalized by like society, he's like this super powerful being that helps people, which I think served as a great escape for like people,
I
you know.
don't know. Like what you mentioned made me think Captain America and like how that was brought up during World War II and like
Mhm.
fighting the Nazis, that sort of thing.
The thing is, like, the problem sometimes with like, especially if you're writing like a character, one of the recommend if you want your story to withstand the test of time, you don't want to date them, which I think Captain America somehow somewhat got dated that way. But they were able to like make him relatable even for further generations, you know? Because
I,
Captain America started off as like World War II,
yeah, I wouldn't
fighting.
care that much about dating. Because you can reboot comics. Obviously, it's not going to be about you. And like, I'm not even speaking about comics. Like, if you're talking about like a one person like fictional hero, then don't even worry about dating it. Like,
No, I dating,
because
not dating the
oh,
setting.
what are
I'm
you
saying like
referring to?
dating as in like the character is dated. Like Captain America has changed a lot since like his first inception. While
Oh yeah,
the core of the character is still there. If the original Captain America, as he was presented like in the comics, was still being published, he would not be popular. Like I don't think people would really care about him because he would be extremely dated. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
it's like since we were talking about Watchmen, Watchmen has some elements that are dated simply because it's about like the Cold War, Reaganism, and all that stuff which to a modern audience isn't something they know. We know of it because we learn about it in school, and we're not that far off from like the effects of Reaganism in our society, and also from the effects of the Cold War because we're Zoomers that only ended like a couple decades ago. But could give it a couple more generations. I think a lot of people are going to be a lot more like the newer generations are going to be a lot more lost when it comes to like reading certain aspects of Watchmen. To a point where I think they're going to have to start like explaining it. That's what I mean by
figure that.
dating.
Yeah. Okay, I I understand. Do you have anything else on the whole making a superhero that you like?
Make them relatable. Careful not to like date them to a specific era if you want to make them like withstand the test of time. Um, give them an iconic design, especially if you're doing a visual medium. You know,
Yeah,
you
I was
look
gonna
at
say the iconic design. That's only good if you're giving them like a visual thing. In
mm,
terms of actual like a word comic, I mean, make them look good for sure.
if you're doing a written word like just with no visuals in your medium, then make sure you make him stand out, not like a generic character, because
Yeah,
people are gonna like compare it to other heroes, and they're gonna argue that it's like a copy of this and that. You
I
know.
swear to fucking God, if any of you guys make any of them look like Yugi from Yu-Gi-Oh! Amongst a bunch of black-haired normal fucking people, I'm gonna be pissed.
The anime protagonist.
Especially if y'all got the idea from this podcast. Somebody out there is getting their ass beat.
You'll hear from our lawyers.
Yeah. By the way, I'm probably our lawyer. Actually,
Yeah.
we could probably both be our lawyer. We'll go. We will go to fucking. We'll pass the bar exam and go to law school to be lawyers in this fight.
We're also gonna be
Alright.
the one who drop off the summons.
That too. I can't afford to pay for that. Like we're both paying off you know, school
Yeah.
and other bills. So back to the podcast.
Uh,
Sorry, I was crying in my cup.
don't do that. I think that was an interesting discussion for tonight, Antoine.
Yeah,
Superheroes are fucking cool.
they are fucking cool.
So are villains. Even better than heroes.
Villains?
And
I'll say just take what you know about villains, which like kind of I'm not gonna say put that in your heroes, but like think about that. Like when you like why do you like villains? Yeah. Make that also what you think about when you're putting into heroes. Make them likable, but not for just any good oh, they're likable because people like them. Fuck you. Make them likable. It's called showing, not telling.
You know, it's funny. We didn't talk about bad heroes, like heroes we hate.
Oh.
That's something for a different episode, I guess.
Episode 7. What?
If
Welcome to
we
the
ever
introspection.
if we ever do that, it's just gonna be me like giving a 10-minute rant about why I fucking hate Ruby.
I refuse to watch Ruby because people. No, actually, this is way too off the podcast. Sorry, people. We'll finish this up before me
Small
and Gabe get
tangent
into the
before we
off
end.
Yeah, we'll get into that another night.
Yeah, save it for the bonus episode.
All right. So expect that bonus episode, but some possible other bonus episodes. Me and Gabe were discussing possibly doing more, particularly when we don't feel like recording. Nah, it's not exactly when we don't feel like recording, but like possibly can't or don't feel like it. Quick shout out to my friend Austin C in Pennsylvania. I sent me a message as an old friend of mine from my sophomore year of college. He hit me up, was like, "Yo, been loving the podcast," and he told me it was funny and he enjoyed it. So thanks, Austin. Also to Pat D, one of my friends from high school, lives in Florida.
Florida man.
Yeah. Also enjoyed the podcast. So thanks, guys. Our socials, check us out on all major fucking podcast platforms. We're on Instagram as well at intro.banter. I'm working on that. It's not ready yet. I got a couple shit up there. Don't blame me.
Like
all
half
right?
finished.
All right.
Half baked.
Try working a fucking Instagram when you're busy. All right.
Listen. You work on the Instagram. I already set up the podcast on all major platforms. That was the deal.
All major platforms. By the way, as Gabe mentioned, we're on all major platforms: Apple, Spotify, YouTube.
Overcast.
I know. I'm the one working the YouTube.
All
of them. Any topic ideas? Just shoot them to Gmail or shoot them to our Instagram. I'm working on it. You're welcome.
Hell, even a YouTube comment.
Fucking anywhere.
Yeah. Well, I've been Gabe.
I've been Antoine.
And thanks for listening. See you guys.
I love you all. Good night.
Can you stop doing that?